Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 7, and welcome back from Hurricane Week. So, first thing I want to say before we get into this video, um, I know that the hurricane did not hit us in Tallahassee, but I know a lot of y'all have family in Orlando and in Tampa and places like that. So, first of all, I hope everybody is safe. I hope everybody's family is safe and doing well. But I know that might have been a stressful time for many of y'all. And I know a lot of y'all were dealing with power outages and things like that from going home to be with family during the last week. So let me know if you need any support going forward. A couple people already have. I did move our assignments and due dates that were present last week. So getting into that, quiz 2 is now due Friday at 11:59 p.m. So make sure you remember to go into Canvas and take that. That will be due again Friday at 11:59 p.m. So that will cover chapters 4 and 5 of your textbook, as well as listening assignments for weeks 4, 5, and 6. Okay, let's go ahead and get into what we're looking at this week. So this week your reading assignment is chapter 6, which deals with music and gender. And while you're reading through this, there's a lot of great musical examples of gender as performed musically. Be thinking about ways in which gender performance has affected your own life, because it really does affect everybody. We all learn certain mannerisms and expectations from society based on our assigned genders. And also be thinking about the ways in which music and gender has affected your life, and the ways that gendered music you listen to sort of helped you explore your own identity. Let's look at the listening assignments this week for week 7. The first two pieces in your listening assignments folder are Aretha Franklin singing Respect, as well as Otis Redding's original recording of Respect. He originally wrote and recorded it. And it's the same story told in each case, but the gender roles are sort of flipped. So there's a really interesting, because Aretha Franklin is singing it from the female perspective, whereas Redding is singing it from the male perspective. So it's a really interesting case study, I think, in how gender is expressed musically. After that, you have an example of a women's gamelan ensemble. Now, this one's particularly interesting. Gamelan ensembles are key percussion instruments that play together in ensemble. And they're popular in Southeast Asia, particularly Indonesia. And I believe the example we're looking at is a Balinese gamelan specifically. Now, gamelan ensembles have a very interesting relationship to gender, both in the way that performances are done. Traditionally, only men performed on the gamelan. Now you see women's ensembles as well as mixed ensembles, and you'll be looking at a women's ensemble. And there are a few differences in how men's and women's ensembles play gamelan, which you'll read about in your textbook. But also, gamelan itself is considered to be gendered. So every instrument in the gamelan ensemble, there's usually 2 variants of it, and one is tuned slightly higher and the other is slightly lower. And what's really interesting about that, there's a lot of explanations as to why, but one explanation that's been offered up is that the lower pitch, which is feminine, the higher pitch is masculine. One explanation for that is that the lower pitch, because it's lower, is closer to the earth, and the earth is represented as feminine. The sky is represented as masculine, and therefore the higher pitch, which is closer to the sky, is the masculine pitch. So it's a really interesting approach to that instrument and its sort of own gender and how that's performed. Finally, you'll be looking at Bizet and Mozart, 2 examples of Western classical music. Bizet's L'amour est un oiseau rebelle from Carmen. This is the sort of famous habanera scene. And you'll read a little bit about habanera rhythm in chapter 5, Music and Ethnicity. But this scene is it's the scene of seduction, and Carmen is a sort of stock character in the opera, the femme fatale, the dangerous woman. And this scene is an interesting scene because Carmen is seducing another character in the opera. And so listen to how the music sort of portrays that seduction. A descending chromatic line, the habanera rhythm, all of these things kind of contribute to the sort of sensuality and sexuality of the piece. And Carmen, as the stock femme fatale character, is using sort of her gender as a weapon in this piece. So it's a really interesting example. And finally, Mozart's Non so più cosa son from The Marriage of Figaro. This is sung traditionally by a castrato singer. You'll read more about that in your textbook, but effectively it is a male singer who did not reach puberty because they were considered talented and castrated at an early age. So they kept that high, boyish voice. Traditionally castrato singer, today when that opera is performed, it's usually either sung by a mezzo soprano, which is a sort of lower soprano voice, sung by a female in what's called a pants role, so a female playing a male character. Occasionally it might also be sung by a male soprano who has trained his falsetto voice. So you'll hear a couple different variants of that, but this sort of treatment of gender in opera is really as old as opera itself. Castrato singers, pants roles, all of these things. And Mozart bases this character, he's a stock character, he's a young boy sort of entering puberty, and he is just excited about every woman he sees. It's pretty funny. Give it a listen. Anyway, good luck with all of that. Remember, again, quiz number 2 is due Friday at 11:59 p.m. And as always, please reach out to me if you need anything, because I know the hurricane may have affected some of you all, more deeply than others. So let me know if you need anything, and good luck this week. Thanks.